Hi, welcome to another episode of Behind the Code. I'm Juliana, the co-founder and CTO here at Stytch. I'm joined by Han from Mintlify today.
Yeah, hi Juliana. It's really excited to be here.
Thanks so much for joining me. To kick things off, let's start with a little bit of background on yourself and what you're building at Mintlify.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My name is Han. I am one of the co-founders of Mintlify, and we at Mintlify we build beautiful and high converting developer-facing documentation.
That's awesome. How did you originally come up with the idea for Mintlify?
There's a longer story to this, of course, but the shorter TLDR was me and my co-founder have worked on tons of projects before, built tons of developer-facing products that always needed some bit of like documentation. We've built a company in the past, and then decided to kind of, pick up I don't know what the analogy is going here, but decided to kind of pick up the mantle again and just kind of start, building the company. And we realized that we really wanted to build for other developers. That was one thing that really mattered to us. And kind of jumping into that space, we explored a bunch of different ideas until we kind of eventually came into the one that seemed like the most obvious, but frankly wasn't the first thing that we tried, which was just building the documentation platform that we've always wished we had when we were building projects and other companies around this as well.
That's fantastic. It's, I think, such a big problem, and documentation is so critical for building a great developer company, right? But it's probably not the focus of most companies that need documentation. Obviously, the focus of Mintlify, but it's definitely a really common problem. So super excited that you're tackling it. Let's dive into a little bit on how you're building Mintlify. Tell us about your stack. What are some of the sort of the key components and technologies you're using?
Yeah. So in terms of the stack itself, we've generally kept it pretty straightforward and simple. So for instance, we use TypeScript through and through for, the front end and back end. Our default stack is Next.js, for like across three different parts of our product. So there's the landing page, there's the dashboard, which is kind of like the admin panel, and then the actual product itself. We found Next to be like really great at serving all three of those different fronts. And then on the back, it's like just like Node, maybe more so with Bun in time to come. We'll see. With Express, and then all these like different services and add-ons to that. But generally, we try to keep it pretty simple for the most part.
How has your stack evolved over time? Are there things that you started out with that you've moved away from, things you've adopted as you've built?
Yeah. So I think thinking about this, the way we've always thought about this was I don't think the stack in and of itself, like the things I was mentioning, has changed that significantly since the early days. I think the thing that is what I consider part of the conversation around the stack is like the way we decided to architect the product and the way we decided to kind of approach building it. And that influenced a lot of the services and the products that we ultimately used. I would say that basically got reinvented like multiple times over. So for instance, like the most notable one is, when we started, like building our product, everything was just like individual documentation deployment. You wanted to spin up a docs with us. It's almost like you're basically spinning up your own like little project and like your own little app and all that stuff. Um, and so over time, as we realized, we need to grow, to now working with like 1,000 companies, like 50,000 pages, like something like 5 million developers a year. It's really hard to kind of keep it up with what we had before. So we re-architected it to follow like a multi-tenant setup, which is more emblematic of like how a website builder is built. So like Squarespace or Webflow, and that change was kind of like a huge kind of transitional period for us, in which was very different from like when we started versus till now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Makes a ton of sense. Always hard to predict exactly how the future is going to look when you're building in the early days.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think it was a great like kind of exercise in terms of like in hindsight, not pre-optimizing. Like we could have spent months making it really scalable, but we took the kind of like the approach of just like testing it out basically. And then over time, I think as we grew, switched up the architecture, switched up all the services and all the stack as well.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I feel like sometimes you like look back and you're like, oh, we should have like done this slightly differently, but also like this got
Yeah.
us to where we are today. And like
Yeah.
you didn't need to spend maybe all of that time from day one and not actually get a product to market then for much longer. It's
Yeah.
always a trade-off.
No, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. What are some of the criteria you use when you're evaluating which technologies to incorporate into your stack?
Yeah. This is a really good question. Um, I think this is going to be a pretty cop-out answer. Uh, so please bear with me. But I don't think we have much of a process as much as, frankly, just trying it, and just seeing how well it works. So like, even, great example in terms of like, our authentication provider. Uh, I've had the fortune or misfortune of basically trying them all. So I've used, like Auth0, I've used Cognito, I've used Clerk, I've used Firebase Auth, I've used Superbase, like you name it. Like I basically use them for one project or another. And even frankly, when we were kind of shopping around for different authentication providers, um, for our product, we came into Stytch, and frankly just found it to be the best that really fits our needs. For ourselves in this particular decision, it was like, like how can we build something where we can kind of own the experience while also making it super simple to set up, something that had the flexibility to work with different authentication options, passwordless, password based, OAuth, you name it. And frankly, we just kind of thought it was like the really good kind of like the fit missing piece to what we were looking for. And I never was a big fan of the other ones for a bunch of reasons that I could spend a lot more time talking into. And I think so it was really just a matter of trying it. I think as a developer, at heart, it was like, you know, really not much more than that.
Perfect sales pitch for Stitch.
There you go. Flip it.
I think that's a really good answer though, because like you can like read all the docs or like look at all the marketing
Yeah.
pages for a product, right? But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, like getting your sort of hands in it and really trying it out is, I think,
Yeah.
oftentimes like the best way to really understand like the capabilities and how it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
So, not a cop out answer at all. I thought that was great.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's just like also in terms of like a, developer facing company through and through, and also like when we're looking for other developing tools, it's like it's very it's less so on like, the marketing pitch, it's the landing page, like really none of that. It's like how quickly can I try the product? Of course, Docs is a part of that,
So important.
of course, it's a very important part of that. But like it's a matter of just getting that up and running as quickly as possible. Was there friction in the process? Was it easy to set up? Does it really work to the way I was hoping for? And if all those things really check out, like that's the decision right there.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about auth where you've chosen to buy and go with a vendor. Are there certain things that you think are really important for you to build in-house versus use a vendor for? And how do you sort of think about when to go one direction or the other?
Yeah. I think so there's a general answer and then there's a more like company specific answer for ourselves. In terms of a general answer, we just generally try to like buy and like use as absolute much as we possibly can. I think that, just from experience, I think like there's a lot of elegance and I think prior like importance for a company to focus on the thing that they're really good at and just be like very laser focused about just doing that well and not try to like really boil the ocean. Authentication is like a perfect example of this because it's a really complicated thing and you really need it. And like if you're trying to like figure out a way of building it in house, it's going to take like months on end and maintaining it and all like all that stuff and security and all that stuff. And it's not really what the company generally is focused on. I think even ourselves, we have this perspective for docs where it's like, yeah, like like I think there's ways in which you can like really make it really good for yourself, but also like if you just want really good docs out there, like we can really help with that as well. Um, even when I was at Facebook, like from my experience, I was really surprised by like even how big the company is, but still have that very like, buy instead of build mindset, outsource as much as possible. Um, and so even for ourselves at Mintlify, I would say the one thing we generally try to think about is like we really believe in owning the experience. Um, that's just a thing that really matters for ourselves as a company, thinking of ways in which like how can we constantly make the experience of the product better. So generally when it comes to that is something we don't try to outsource and build in-house, because that is where like our specialties and value really lies. But outside of that, like, like we're all game, like whatever it takes to save us time and engineering time and money is where we'll go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think we have a very similar philosophy where
Yeah.
let's focus on the things that are like differentiated about what we're building, our like core product, right? But most things, it's like, yeah, if you can buy something off the shelf and not have to spend engineering effort on it, as
Yeah.
long as it's like performing and giving you that like flexibility and customization that you might need, like such a great approach. I think it's pretty exciting to be building a company in like 2023 where there are so many cool technologies out there that you can rely on. I think it's crazy to even look back a few years ago and see how far dev tools have come.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like the amount of options now to just get like a product that works really well and up and running, so you can really focus on like what you really need to deliver and show to the market is like so much easier than before. And it's frankly what helped us get to where we are today. With companies like Stytch, for instance.
Amazing. What's up next for you and Mintlify?
Oh man, it's a very loaded question. Well, tons of things that we're really excited about. Basically launching a few new features, launching, like, fewer products that, that, haven't publicly slated yet. And then also really building towards like, all encompassing like our much broader vision of what we're really thinking and focused on, which is building what we call like the developer communication platform. It's the vision in which got us started in the first place. It's what got us excited. Hambi and I've always believed that like companies between you and me, Juliana, and guess whoever's listening, that like companies are generally really bad at communicating their product to the developer like audience. And now that there's about like like what like 30 million developers out in the world and playing an increasingly larger role in the way we're building things and shaping things, we want to find ways to improve that. We found that documentation was like a great starting point to that, but by no means is that where we believe we'll end up on. And so other products, other things that we'll tackle around this vector is where is where our horizons lie. So
Awesome. That's super exciting. And I think, yeah, a problem very near and dear to my heart. So I'm excited you all are tackling it.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking some time to chat with us today.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, it was Juliana. It was really, really nice chatting. Again, I just can't emphasize, just really, really excited to have also been working with Stytch. We really think it's just a wonderful product for ourselves in terms of authentication so that we've really never had to think about it. I personally had a great time setting it up and, excited for what's to come with Stytch as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right.
All
Have a good day,
right.
Joanna.
Thank you.
Awesome.